And thank you so very much for tuning in as we're going to take another look at a court appearance today by convicted double murderer Alex Murdaugh. We're going to speak with attorney Lori Murray about things in just a moment. But first, we're going to take a look at what happened earlier today in the courtroom. And we heard something in court today that we really haven't heard too much of. Alex Murdaugh saying he wanted to take responsibility for his crimes. Murdaugh pled guilty to 22 federal crimes related to his schemes to steal millions of dollars from his clients, money laundering, and bank fraud. The video here is him walking into the courthouse this morning. As many of you know, cameras are not allowed in federal court, so we're going to switch to some video on his last court appearance, which was a state court appearance, which he made in Beaufort. And there's that video. This is old video, not video from today. In his jail jumpsuit today, though, Murdaugh stood before a federal judge saying he wanted to take responsibility so the people he hurt can begin to heal. Prosecutors will ask that any federal sentence Murdaugh gets run at the same time as any prison term he serves from a state court. Right now, Murdaugh is serving a life sentence for, as you know, killing his wife and his son. But he's also facing more than 100 state charges, accused of stealing money from his clients, stealing money from his law firm, and other charges. The trial date has been set for November of this year, November 27th, actually, the Monday after Thanksgiving. His sentencing on these federal charges today are going to be at a later date. Now, also today, Murdaugh's attorneys made a statement on the request for a retrial. This comes after the State Attorney General Alan Wilson responded last week as part of the appeals process. Murdaugh's attorneys have accused Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill of jury tampering, and they want a new trial. Wilson says that Murdaugh's request was procedurally defective because his attorneys didn't clearly state when they learned of any jury tampering, and they did not provide a required affidavit. Murdaugh's team responded today saying they shouldn't have to provide an affidavit, that he had no way of knowing there was jury tampering during the trial. But when all was said and done today, they provided an affidavit anyway. And we're still waiting to find out if a new trial will be granted. All right, so that's basically what happened as far as the court is concerned today. We're being joined now by Lori Murray, a local attorney here in Columbia, to talk about today's proceedings. And waiting to see Lori on the screen if we can. There we are. All right. Having a few technical bumps this evening, but it's okay. So what do you make of today? He goes into court today and he basically says, hey, I did this. I want to say I did it. I want to claim responsibility. And I'm doing so because I want people to heal. I want the healing process to begin.
Well, I mean, I think that he's facing some major charges, both in state and federal court. And we have a lot of wanting to do our time in federal court, which is a lot of the basis for this federal appeal or federal plea. But also, I think he generally knows that he did wrong. I hope that he does have some remorse. Maybe that's it. But yeah, we have a nice guilty plea today, so the state or the feds don't have to, go to trial, and hopefully some of the families can begin to heal. I don't know that his motive, again, was that he wanted them to begin to heal more than he actually wanted to get this on the record before the state possible new trial comes in. Right.
He also says something about wanting to take responsibility so his son, Buster Murdaugh, could see that he is stepping up here, claiming guilt, taking responsibility for cheating all these people.
Well, Buster said in one of the interviews that he did that, he would admit that his father had some psychological problems. And that's his only family left. And he stood up for him. He stands by him. He doesn't believe he's guilty. And I think he's setting a good example finally for Buster. But this is a broken family. This goes beyond anything that could be mended. But to set a good example is a start.
The fascination with this case continues, though. Anytime anybody mentions Alex Murdaugh, people pay attention.
Absolutely.
I don't. Again, can you explain why the fascination with this convicted double murderer?
I think that the case was just so fascinating. We have somebody who had so much control over, the local government, the prosecution of in the Low Country. They were just so powerful, and this case just keeps having more twists and turns, more victims. Everything every day something new was coming out. So once you get so involved with a trial, like with OJ, for instance, we were all, at least I was, glued to that trial. I was watching it day to day. But then when OJ went away and this whole case went away, it was gone. This keeps coming back. We have financial crimes. We have, federal crimes. We have all kinds of new things that keep coming back. And there's still a lot of doubt as to whether he was guilty by a lot of people, including myself.
You still have doubts?
I do. I believe he was there, but I do not, I am not fully convinced that he pulled the trigger.
Really?
Really.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Sure. I mean, I've made no secret of it. I think that, you have the Snapchat video, which was actually the thing that was probably the nail in his coffin there. That he's running around in the background with Bubba the dog and saying, Bubba, come back. That has a guinea in his mouth, whatever it was. But either way, you think about that being literally like 4 minutes before their phones went dead. So to think about him running back and forth and just like a normal day, and then within 4 minutes gunning down both Maggie and Paul with 2 different guns, something that clearly had to be planned if he was going to be the one to do it. I don't buy it. I don't believe that he could. I believe he loved his son. I believe he cared for Maggie. I don't believe that kind of personality switches within that amount of time. And I also believe that there is a very large possibility that the drug cartel was involved in this.
Interesting. So you think other people were at the scene of the crime that night?
I do. I think there was at least 2 other people there. I think he was there, and I think he knows what happened, which probably makes him guilty, just not in the way that the state proved him guilty.
All right, let's talk about the possibility of a retrial here. His attorneys are claiming jury tampering by Becky Hill, the clerk of court in Colleton County. What do you think the chances are right now? If what Murdaugh's attorneys are saying is true, if we can come back, there we go, there she is. If what his attorneys claim she did is true, will there be a new trial?
There should be. If she actually had any interaction with this jury about this case, then there should be a new trial. We have at least 2, the egg juror and another juror, and then another juror. Those 2 gave affidavits, and then another juror spoke with the defense attorneys but would not sign the affidavit. So those are at least 3 people who say that she had some influence over them. Now there are other jurors who say no, she didn't, and we have to look at the reasons why they would change their mind and come forward now, and we have to look at the reasons why the others would not. Either way, I think a hearing needs to be held. I think that we have to question all of them, not just 4 represented by Eric Bland and 2 represented by Joe McCullough. I think we have to speak to every one of those jurors, and I think we actually have to hear from Becky herself.
Well, Becky Hill wrote a book about everything that happened. That came out in the month of August, I believe.
It did.
And I believe she has denied any wrongdoing when it comes to this. And the state attorney general has basically already said, if things stand the way they stand right now, then a motion for a new trial is probably not going to work.
Well, the attorney general is pushing their narrative just as much as the defense is pushing theirs. But I read that book, and I'm going to try to be nice here. That was a terribly written book. I was driving with my daughter to Portland across the country, so it took me not long to read it. And I just looked at her and said, I can't get that time back, because it was just, a lot of self-aggrandizing by Becky. But in that book, she admits to talking to the jurors. She literally says in the book that that they would talk about, they would pray every morning. She had a good feeling about the jury. She says in that book that she knew after visiting Moselle and some of the conversations that that everybody thought he was guilty. So there's a lot in that book that could hurt her, potentially. There's some, dare I say, admissions in that book that are concerning for her. That's why she's got a lawyer, 2 lawyers.
If he ends up getting a new trial, is Clifton Newman the judge in the case, or will it be a new judge?
I would think it would be a new judge. I think that Judge Newman, while he did a good job in this case, whenever the Facebook allegations that came out about the Facebook post that Becky said that she saw, and Becky said she saw this Facebook post the night before he asked her to go find it. She said she couldn't find it, but she did find this apology for the Facebook post. So Judge Newman was in that area. He had an in-camera hearing about those allegations of the Facebook post and whether this egg juror was talking or making comments, and whether her ex-husband pushed that out onto Facebook. So he became a witness at that point because he's the one that had the in-camera hearing. He questioned Becky. So I don't think that he could be the judge, and he's set to retire. Now he can still come back out of retirement to do it, but I think that it would be a new judge.
Right, so the murder trial started in late January, goes all of February, ends on the first couple of days of March. The state trial on those state charges starts November 27th, the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend, I should say. Are we looking at a week, you think, or a few days, or what?
Well, and much to the chagrin of the defense attorneys, because everybody tried to get that case pushed off, but Judge Newman was not having any of that. He wants to get these things going, and that case is just the Satterfield case. So I don't think that case will take nearly as long. I would say maybe a week at the most on that case. Now, I don't know how to estimate the witnesses that the state has or that the defense has, but I can't see it taking more than a week to try that case.
Other than sentencing for the federal charges that he pled guilty of today, do you see Murdaugh back in court between now and November 27th?
No, I don't. I unless it's about this motion for a new trial, I think that he is probably sitting back and waiting. What I think is going on right now, I think that, you can run state time concurrent to federal time, meaning you can do your state time and get credit for it at the same time you're serving your federal time. And you can't do federal time and get credit for it while you're serving state time. So he's hopeful that he's getting to get this new trial, and he's hopeful that that plea will go forward and he'll get sentenced on that plea, so he will be doing federal time, so that his state time, if he gets a new trial, would then run concurrent to his federal time, and he would serve it in a federal prison, which is a huge difference between prisons. Federal prison is much nicer than our state prisons.
But pleading guilty today, the way he pled guilty, even if he gets a new trial and they acquit him on all those charges, whatever. Pleading guilty today to these federal crimes, he'll probably never see the light of day again, will he?
It just depends on the sentencing. The federal system is based on the financial loss, the amount of financial loss. So I don't know where he falls in the guidelines, but sentencing in the federal system is not emotional. It is not based on victim impact statements from, Eric Bland and Barnwell, not Barnwell, Bamberg. Thank you. So it's not based on those. It's uniform across the board. So it depends on what the financial loss is. I believe they said today that it might be $9 million. So he would probably be looking, somewhere in the, the Chrisleys. That's the other famous couple that did, a financial crime. They had $30 million in financial loss, and they got 12 years. So, if he's found not guilty on the murder trial, it's the state charges that are going to drive his sentence, not the federal ones.
How much could he get on the state charges?
Oh gosh, the wire fraud or the money laundering is the biggest one. The money, I believe. I think I added it up. It was like 400 something years. But right. The money laundering charges are 20-year charges. So he's charged with money laundering and conspiracy to commit bank fraud and wire fraud. So hundreds of years potentially if you ran them all consecutive. But again, it's going to be up to Judge Newman and or whoever is sentencing him, assuming he's found guilty. And Judge Newman just sentenced Corey Fleming, so we have an idea of what Judge Newman will think of Alex Murdaugh's financial crimes.
And the reason I ask you if he's going to make any more court appearances, I don't know. We've heard from some viewers out there who think that Murdaugh likes the limelight.
He does.
Likes walking into the courtroom.
You know what? I had a client tonight that I was in court in Irmo, and my client was in jail here in Richland County, and they went to get him to bring him to court in Irmo, and he said that he was not going. He refused to appear. And I thought that was the oddest thing, because usually they like to get out of jail to be able to see the world again, and that's what he's doing. He's enjoying coming in and seeing his old colleagues. He's a lawyer. He's normally on this side of the bar. These people that, he walked in and shook hands with, those are people he's known for 20 years. So he gets to see friends. He gets to, be the center of attention, and that's part of who he's always been. When he tried a case, that's one of the things that Ronnie Crosby said. He was very good at making the jury, feel the emotion of it. So yeah, he walks in and he enjoys it. I had another friend who was in SCDC, one of the jails, and she was visiting another client, and Alex Murdaugh walked down the hall with 2 different agents where he was still cooperating, probably giving a statement. And she said he was laughing and talking, just, like this is his life now.
Right.
He's always going to be that same personality, that same yuck it up, good old boy, make the best of the situation. Hey, how you doing? Shaking hands and kissing babies. I think he's always going to be that person.
And I know you're thrilled. A made-for-TV movie coming out in about 3 weeks now.
I think we talked about that beforehand. I don't see myself watching that. I enjoy the crime aspect of this. I enjoy the legal aspect of this. I enjoy all of the wranglings with the court. I like watching the attorneys perform. I do not like to watch the dramatic performances on Lifetime or any of the other shows.
All right, Lori Murray, local attorney here in Columbia. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
And of course, we'll continue to follow what happens in the courtroom for you. As always, we'll have the very latest on air and online at WLTX.com.